Sarasvati Hare Rama Bhaktisiddhanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Mayapur Dham Ki Gamaya Yamunamaya Ki Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki all glories to Sambhu devotees. All glories to Sambhu devotees. All glories to Sambhu devotees. All glories Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. All glories Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Shunyavani Pracharine. So yesterday was the most auspicious 150th anniversary of the appearance of this divine grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur Prabhupada.
昨天是非常吉祥的，圣恩 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur Srila Prabhupada的150周年的显现日的庆典。
So today we will speak about some of the leelas or pastimes which took place in the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati.
所以今天我们要谈一谈发生在Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati他的这一生之中的逍遥时光一些利了。
We have to understand the glories of such a great personality who could be the spiritual master of the founder Acharya of ISKCON.
我们必须要了解一下这位伟大人物的荣耀，因为他是整个的 ISKCON 的创办 Acharya 的灵性导师。
So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was born the third son in the family of a very great devotee, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta 他出生在一个非常伟大的奉献者的家庭，那就是 Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur 的家里。
And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, at the time of the birth of this child, was living in Jagannath Puri.
而Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 在这个孩子出生的时候，他们全家人住在加格纳普里。
And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was working as a judge in the court at this time.
在那个时候 ，Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 作为一个法庭的法官在工作。
And he was in charge for all the dealings of the Jagannath Puri temple.
而且他管理所有加格纳普里庙里的事务。
He was responsible to make sure that all the money which was donated to the temple was used properly.
他要确保所有对于庙宇进行的捐款都得到恰当的使用。
So certainly Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was born into that kind of family, a family who were they had a very big position in this society.
有一点要肯定的是，Srila Bhaktisiddhanta他出生在这样的一个非常显赫的家庭，他们家在社会上享有崇高的地位。
It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that if someone has practiced yoga for a long time but still not completely perfect, then they would take birth in the family of great devotees.
在巴格基塔之中有一个地方说到，如果一个人长时间的修习 yoga， 但是没有达到完美，他就可以出生在伟大奉献者的家庭。
So that would be one way to understand the appearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati.
这是一种理解 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 的方式。
But another way in which we could understand his appearance is that he was a perfect soul, that he came from the spiritual world.
但是我们理解他的另外一种方式，便是他是一位完美的灵魂，来自于灵性世界。
And he came to help Bhaktivinoda Thakur establish the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
他的到来是为了帮助Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur确立 Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 的使命。
Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a big family. He had like 11 children.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur他有一个很大的家庭，大概只有11个孩子。
And he had so many children because he wanted all his children would help him to establish preaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission.
他之所以有这么多的孩子，是因为他希望这些孩子能够帮助他去传播Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu的使命。
So all of his children, they were all trained to be devotees.
因此，所有的这些孩子们都受到训练，成为奉献者。
But it was this one child who was known as a young child. He was known as Bimal Prasad.
但就是这个孩子小的时候，他的名字叫 Bimala Prasad。
Bimala is the name of Durga, the name of Lord Shiva's wife.
Bimala 是Durga女神的名字，她是主西瓦的妻子。
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave this child the name Bimala Prasad.
因此 Bhaktivinoda Thakur 为这个孩子取名为 Bimala Prasad。
And when he was born, when he came from the womb of the mother, at that time the umbilical cord from the mother was wrapped around his neck just like a Brahman thread.
当他从母亲的子宫之中出生的时候，他母亲子宫里的这个脐带就像是一个 Brahmana 的圣线一样绕在他的身上。
And when the child was just a few months old, it came time for Rati Atra, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was living on the main road just where the chariot passes.
当这个孩子只有几个月大的时候，大家举行 Ratha Yatra 弹车节，而 Bhaktivinoda Thakur 他们家就住在主路上，正好是弹车 Ratha 经过的地方。
If you go to Jagannath Puri today, there's a Gaudiya Mat temple at this place where Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to live.
如果你们如今去加格纳图瑞的话，就会发现有一个原来是 Bhaktivinoda 他住的地方，他的家现在已经成为了高地玛。
And it's the birthplace of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati.
那里就是 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur 的出生地。
And so the chariot comes down from the main temple in Puri, and they pull it all the way to the Gundicha temple.
弹车被从主庙之中拉出来，然后大家拉着弹车去拱地场庙。
So this house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur was about halfway along the route to Gundicha temple.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur 的家呢，就在庙一直到拱地场庙中间的这个半路上。
And the custom was the people will come out from their house and they'll make offerings to the deities.
当时的风俗是人们会从家里出来，然后向神像做供奉。
Just like when we do processions here in Mayapur, they'll bring the deities and people, householders will come out from their home and they'll make offerings to the deity.
就像是在马雅普这里，当举行神像巡游的时候呢，每家每户都会出来，然后向神像做一些供奉。
Supposed to be like that anyway.
无论如何，应该是这样的。
So in Puri, Rath Yatra, when the chariot comes along the road, people will come out, they'll make offerings to the deity.
在普瑞弹车节举行的时候，这个弹车出来了之后，人们就从家里边出来，向神像进行种种供奉。
And at that time the chariot stops, and because Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife had delivered a young child, she passed the young child up onto the top of the chariot to be placed at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath.
当弹车经过他们家门口的时候，巴提诺德的妻子呢就把这个年幼的婴儿递到了弹车上，然后给这个弹车上的祭师，让他给主加格纳的供奉。
In Malaysia, when we do Rath Yatra, there it's custom. Many people will come up, they bring the baby, young baby, and they'll pass the child up onto the chariot, and the priest will take the baby, put it at the feet of Lord Jagannath.
在马来西亚也形成了这样的传统，如果有人家里有刚出生的小婴儿的话，他们就会把这个孩子放到祭师的手里，就带到这个弹车上，放在主加格纳特的莲花足下。
So Bimala Prasad was passed up onto the chariot, and the mother passed him up onto the chariot, and he was placed at the feet of Jagannath. But when he was at the feet of Jagannath, then the garland fell off Jagannath onto the child.
Bimala Prasad 他的母亲就把这个孩子给了祭司，然后祭司把他放在加格纳的莲花足下。这个时候，主加格纳他带了一串花环就掉了下来，正好掉在这个孩子身上。
So the father and mother were very happy to see this, and they thought this child must be very good. We have to take good care and train him to be a nice devotee.
父亲和母亲非常的高兴，他们觉得这个孩子非常的不一般，我们应该好好的训练这个孩子，这样呢，他可以成为一个很好的奉献者。
And it happened, of course, Bimala Prasad grew up to be a very good child, and he was very faithful to his father. He was always with his father and would hear his father preaching.
结果就是这样 Bimala Prasad 他长成了一个非常好的孩子，而且他对他的父亲非常的忠诚，他总是帮助他的父亲去传播。
While he was still a young child, his father had trained him to memorize all the slokas from the Bhagavad Gita.
当他还是一个小孩的时候，他的父亲就训练他记住了 Bhagavad Gita 的所有诗节，
And he could explain them also.
而且他还可以解释他们。
So in this way, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was training his son that he will also spread Krishna consciousness.
这样 Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 就在训练他的儿子，让他的儿子也能够去传播 Krishna 知觉。
And another famous pastime which took place when he was still a child was concerning the mangoes. That Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur had purchased some mangoes in the marketplace.
另外的一个消息呢，也是发生在他的孩提时代，这个跟芒果有关。Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 从市场上买了一些芒果。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Bimala Prasad is a young boy at the time, just only 4 or 5 years old, and he saw the mangoes and he thought, oh, mangoes, I like mango, and he took a mango and he ate the mango.
当时的这个 Bimala Prasad 他看到芒果，他是一个小孩，他很喜欢吃芒果，所以呢，他就把这个芒果给吃了。
But when Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur saw him eating the mango, he said, hey, these mangoes are not offered yet. Before you eat the mango, we should first offer to Krishna. You have taken before Krishna. This is offense.
但是当 Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 看到他吃芒果的时候 ，Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 就跟他说：“嘿，这些芒果还没有供奉呢，你在吃之前应该先给 Krishna 供奉。如果在给 Krishna 没供奉之前你就吃了的话，那就算是一个冒犯。”
So you are an offender.
你是一个冒犯者。
So the child vowed, all right, I will not eat mangoes again.
于是这个孩子发誓，我再也不吃芒果了。
And when people would come, sometimes his disciples would come and he would bring mangoes to offer. He would say, oh, I cannot take. I am an offender.
以后呢，当人们来给他供奉芒果，他的一些门徒给他芒果吃的时候，他就说：“哦不，我不能吃，我是一个冒犯者。”
So the rest of his life he kept that vow. He would not take mango.
他整个的余生都一直坚守着这个誓言，再也没有吃过芒果。
So you can understand his great determination, his strength of character.
所以大家可以想一想他的这种决心，他的力量，他的品格。
So Shrila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati grew up to be a lifetime brahmachari.
Shrila Bhaktisiddhanta 他长大成人，然后一直是一个 brahmachari 真守生。
At one point, he went to college and he studied in the college in Calcutta.
曾经有一度他去上大学，他上的是加尔各答的一个大学。
And at that time, he formed a society which was dedicated to promoting brahmachari life.
在当时他成立了一个协会，他们这个协会是为了推行 brahmachari 的生活，独身真守的生活。
And he was only a teenage man at the time, but he was very powerful and he was encouraging other young men to take up this vow to become brahmachari.
当时他只不过是一个少年，但是他非常的有力量，他说服了其他的年轻人一起来坚持这种 brahmachari 的生活。
They have a picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati with all the young men who were members of his brahmachari society.
专门有一张照片，就是 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 还有他的那个创办的协会的其他的 Brahmachari 们。
Although later in life, every one of the other men got married. He was the only one who kept the vow of celibacy throughout his life.
当然，后来随着时间的流逝，所有其他的年轻人都结婚了，他是唯一一个一直一辈子都独身贞守的人。
But because he was very sense-controlled, he was very powerful in his preaching.
因为他在传播的时候，他非常的能够控制自己的感官，所以他非常的强大。
He described the word used to just, and a word which he used himself is that he would be sometimes aggressive in his preaching.
有一个就是关于用到他传播的时候的一个词，就是说他非常的有攻击性。
If somebody is very aggressive, they have a very strong desire to do something.
如果一个人他有攻击性的话，这就指的是他有非常强烈的愿望要做成一件事情。
So Shrila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati had that kind of determination, and he would preach sometimes very, very strongly.
Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他就有这样的决心，所以他传播的时候是非常非常强烈、特别强的。
So as a young man, he'd taken it for some time. He took up some kind of scholarship. He spent some time studying, and he studied astrology, and he wrote a book even about astrology.
作为一个年轻人，他接受了奖学金，他进行了一段时间的学习，然后他在学习的时候专门研习了占星的这一部分，他甚至为此还写了一本书。
There's a famous book about astrology called Siddhanta, and Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, or Bimala Prasad as he was called at the time, he wrote his own commentary on this book, Siddhanta.
当时在占星方面有一本非常著名的著作，名字叫做 Sarasvati， 是由 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati， 也就是当时的 Bimala Prasad， 他对于这部 Sarasvati 进行了自己的评论。
It was so much appreciated by the academic world that the people who were in charge of the Calcutta University wanted to make him the professor of astrology.
他写的这个著作在学术界引起了轰动，所以至于加尔各答大学的那个学科的就是领导呢，想让他成为他们这个科目的教授。
But Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati refused. He didn't want to get involved in academic circles.
但是 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 拒绝了，他不想涉足学术界。
Bhaktisiddhanta, and as a young man, he was constantly with his father, Bhaktivinoda.
作为一个年轻人 ，Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 总是跟他的父亲是 Bhaktivinoda Thakur 在一起。
But he was always very respectful to Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. To his father, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was always very respectful to Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 对他自己的父亲 Bhaktivinoda Thakur 总是非常的尊敬。
And he wouldn't just call him father, but he would call him Mahashaya.
他不仅管他就不管他的父亲叫父亲，他管他的父亲叫 Mahashaya.
Meaning he's a very exalted, great personality.
意思就是说是一位非常伟大崇高的人物。
He recognized his father to be a very great, enlightened personality.
他承认他的父亲是一位非常崇高的，是一个已经得到了自我觉悟的人物。
When they were living in Jagannath Puri, I described how Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the judge, and he was in charge of the temple. He would also give lectures there.
我刚才已经描述过，他们就是年轻的时候，他全家人都住在加格纳普瑞，而Bhaktivinoda Thakur呢，他做着法官的工作，同时也管理庙宇的事务。而在那个时候呢，他也会给大家讲课。
And people would come, quite a few people used to come and hear his lectures, and even sadhus and different Babajis and other people who were living there in Jagannath Puri, they would come and hear his lectures.
有不少的人会来聆听他讲的课，因为还有一些萨杜，还有不同的地方的圣人们，全都会经常的来聆听他讲课。
And there was this one Babaji, he had created his own mantra. He'd made a new mantra, and somehow the mantra which he'd made became accepted by people, and they started to chant it, and he got quite a few followers. But it was nonsense, it was a bogus mantra.
有一个巴巴吉，他自己发明了一个 mantra， 然后呢，他唱诵这个 mantra， 还有一些人成为他的追随者，但实际上他的这个 mantra 不是正宗的，是一个冒牌的 mantra。
So this man who composed this mantra, he used to come and listen to Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's lectures.
译作这个 mantra 的人，他经常会来聆听Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur的讲课。
And Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur would point out to the man that, this mantra which you're promoting is not proper, it's not shastric, it's all wrong, you should stop it.
Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 就向这个人指出，你所推崇的这个 mantra 其实呢是冒牌的，不是一个真正的，你应该停止。
But the man would not listen.
可是这个人不听。
And there are still people chanting the mantra today.
如今还有人在唱这个 mantra。
If you go to Jagannath Puri, you'll see there are people there who are chanting this mantra which is not Shastra.
如果你们如今去加格纳普瑞，也会看到有一些人他们在唱诵这个，并不是非常符合经典就是服从 Shastra 的这个 mantra。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was telling the man this is wrong, and Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, he would get really angry because he was a young man, and he would get quite angry at this man, and he would argue with this man and all of his followers. There'd be sometimes big turmoil, disturbance.
施罗巴蒂诺的塔库告诉这个人，你这个 mantra 不应该这样唱诵。而施罗巴蒂西丹的 Sarasvati， 因为他是一个年轻人，他就变得非常的愤怒，他有时候就会跟这个人进行非常激烈的辩论，而且有时候跟他的这个追随者们，他们就会有很大的就是很冲突的这种场面。
So because this man who made up this mantra had some followers, they were very angry with Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati.
缔造了这个 mantra 的人，因为他有一些追随者，所以他们对于 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 就非常愤怒。
So it was at that time Bhaktivinoda Thakur told his son, he said, you can go to Mayapur, go and stay in Mayapur or something.
这个时候呢 ，Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 就告诉他的儿子，你去玛雅普吧，你去玛雅普住一段时间。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati went to Mayapur and he stayed at the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
于是 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 来到了玛雅普，他住在主Chaitanya Mahaprabhu的出生地。
And he took a vow to chant the holy name 1 billion times.
他发誓要唱诵圣名要唱诵圣名0.1亿遍。
So it took several
11遍，这花了好几年的时间。
And Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati at that time is living in Mayapur. Were very few people. It was just the jungle.
当时 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 住在玛雅普，这里没有什么人，是一片丛林。
There was none of these houses which we see today. It was just a jungle that Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur had built a small temple at the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that was the only thing there.
当时玛雅普全都是一片丛林，根本就没有我们现在看到这些房子。Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 在主Chaitanya Mahaprabhu的出生地建了一个小房子，就是这样，就再没有别的建筑物了。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was living there, and he was just chanting the holy name and just under an umbrella.
Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 就住在这样的情况之下，就举着一把伞，这个伞在伞下天天念诵。
Right? Umbrellas are very important things in India.
在印度，雨伞是非常重要的东西，
will protect you from the rain,
可以保护你免于雨水，
will protect you from the sun,
还可以保护你免于阳光，
and you can use it against the dogs also.
而且你也可以用它来对付狗。
Sometimes Prabhupada will show you take the umbrella and get the dog, chase the dog away.
有的时候，释勒帕帕就会举起他的雨伞，然后把狗赶跑。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was living like that in Mayapur, chanting the holy name under an umbrella.
所以说，巴基斯坦的萨斯瓦提当时就是在马雅普这样生活的，举着一把伞，在伞底下唱诵着圣名。
And he did this for several years.
他做了好几年这样的。
And he was just quite a young man at this time also.
他当时还是一个非常就是比较年轻的人。
And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur came also, he came to live at Swarupganj.
后来巴基诺塔库尔也来了，他住在 Swarupganj。
And you mean if you cross the Jalangi, that's Swarupganj.
然后你就跨过哲朗佩河，就是 Swarupganj。
And Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a house there.
巴基诺的塔库尔的家就在那里。
And he used to meet people like Gorkishore Das Babaji and Jagannath Das Babaji, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would also come with him.
他经常会去见Gorkishore Das Babaji，还有加格纳 Das Babaji 这样的人物，而这个 Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 也会去那里见他。
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur told Bhimo Prasad, he said, you have to get initiation. You have to have a guru. It's important. You're not initiated by anybody yet. You have to get initiation.
巴基诺的塔库告诉 Bhimo Prasad， 你应该接受启迪，你还没有接受过 guru 呢，你应该去找一个灵性导师接受他的启迪。
And Bhimo Prasad said, you're my guru.
Bhimo Prasad 说，你就是我的 guru。
But Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, no, I'm your father. I'm your seminal father. I cannot be your guru. You have to get initiation from somebody else.
但是巴基诺的塔库说，我是你的父亲，在生理学上我是你的父亲，你必须要找另外的一个人成为你的 guru。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, but who? There's nobody. They're all these so-called sadhus, they're all bogus. They're not genuine sadhus.
但是巴基斯坦的萨尔萨蒂说，那我去找谁呢？所有的那些萨杜呢，都不是正宗的，他们都是冒牌的萨杜。
But Bhaktivinoda Thakur told him, well, not all. There are some good people, and he said, just like this one here, Gorkishore Das Babaji, he's a very good.
巴基诺塔克就说，不过他们不是说所有的人都是冒牌的萨杜、冒牌的圣人。比如说这个人就是Gorkishore Das Babaji， 他就是一个正宗的圣人，你可以去找他。
So Gorkishore Das Babaji, he was an illiterate person. Hardly he could read or write.
Gorkishore Das Babaji 他是一个文盲，他几乎不能够写字，也不能读书。
And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he was the most highly educated scholarly person.
但是巴基斯坦的萨尔萨蒂，他是当时受过最高教育的一个学者。
So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came to Gorkishore Das Babaji and asked him for initiation, Gorkishore Das Babaji said, oh, how can I initiate you? You are so educated, you're so much greater than I am.
所以当巴基斯坦的萨尔萨蒂去找 Gorkishore Das Babaji 启迪的时候呢 ，Gorkishore Das Babaji 就说：“你是受到如此的高等教育的一个人，而我呢是一个文盲，我怎么能够指导你呢？”
So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, well, I have to get initiation, I have to have a guru, and my father said you were qualified, he said you would be the right man.
巴基斯坦的萨尔萨蒂说：“但是仍然我需要找到一个 guru， 我需要启迪。我的父亲说你是一个好的、适合的人选。”
So Gorkishore Das Babaji said, oh no, I don't think I'm so qualified, I don't think it's a very good idea. You're such an educated person, I'm illiterate.
Gorkishore Das Babaji说，这个不太合适啊，我是一个受到很高等教育的人，我是个文盲，这样的是不好的。
So they said, but Bhima Prasad said, oh, that's material qualification. Spiritually, you're a very elevated soul, you're a great soul. And I want to accept you as my spiritual teacher.
Bhima Prasad 说，我这个资格是物质的资格，这个根本不算什么。在灵性上呢，我接受你我的灵性的老师。
So Gorkishore Das Babaji said, well, I will have to ask Krishna, I will let you know.
Gorkishore Das Babaji 说，那我去问问 Krishna，我回头再告诉你。
So for some time, Bhima Prasad had to wait. And then after some time he came back again, and again he asked Gorkishore Das Babaji, did you ask Krishna? Did you get a reply from Krishna?
于是等了一段时间之后呢，Bhima Prasad 就问 Gorkishore Das Babaji，你有没有问 Krishna？Krishna 怎么说？你有没有答应呢？
And he said, well, I asked him, but he didn't give me an answer yet.
然后他说，哦，我问了，但是他还没回答我呢。
So Bhima Prasad was waiting again. After more time, again he came. He said, you know, it's been a long time. I asked you, I'm waiting. I want to get your initiation. I want you to be my spiritual teacher.
然后 Bhima Prasad 有一天就找到 Gorkishore Das Babaji 说，你知道吗？我等啊等啊，我等了真是苦苦的等候，我一定要得到你作为我的灵性的老师。
And Gorkishore Das Babaji said, well, I didn't get any response yet. I'm still waiting to hear from Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. He didn't tell me anything.
Gorkishore Das Babaji 说，你知道吗？我也在等了，我一直在等着Nanda Maharaj的儿子 Krishna 给我回复，但是他还没有回复我。
So then Bhima Prasad said to him, he said, if I cannot get initiation, then I will give up my life. My life is useless because I don't have the mercy of a spiritual teacher. How can I go to Krishna without the mercy of a spiritual teacher?
于是 Bhima Prasad 他说，如果我不能够得到你给我启迪的话，那我就要放弃我的生命，因为如果我不能够得到一位灵性的老师，我不能够去接近 Krishna， 我的这个生命就没有用处了。
So when Gorkishore Das Babaji saw that Bhima Prasad was very serious and that he was ready even to give up his life, then he agreed, all right, then we can give you initiation.
当 Gorkishore Das Babaji 看到 Bhima Prasad 如此的有决心，为了得到灵性的老师的启迪，他甚至可以放弃自己的生命。那个时候他说，好吧，我现在可以启迪你了。
So he was initiated and he got the name Shrila Devi.
于是他得到了启迪，他的名字是 Shrila Devi。 Shrila Devi。 Daitaya。
Right? It's the name of Radharani.
这是 Radharani 的一个名字。
So he got initiation. Later on, he took the name Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati.
于是他启迪了之后呢，他接受了 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 的这个名字。
The title Sarasvati was given to him because of his scholarly nature, because he was such a highly learned scholar.
这个 Sarasvati 的头衔被赐予给他，是因为他的这种品质，他是这么崇高的一位学者。
And the name Bhaktisiddhanta, that's the name he took at the time when he had sannyas.
而 Bhaktisiddhanta 这个名字是他当他做了 sannyas 之后得到的。
When he took sannyas, when he finally took sannyas, at that time his spiritual master had already departed from the world.
当他进行 sannyas 进阶的时候，他的灵性导师已经离开了这个世界。
And Bhaktivinoda Thakur had also departed from the world.
Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 也离开了这个世界。
So how was he supposed to take sannyas?
那他怎么去接受 sannyas 呢？
So what he did was he went into the temple and he went inside the altar and he closed the curtains.
他所做的就是进到了庙里，然后去了神坛，把这个帘子关上。
And then he invited his own spiritual master to appear.
然后他邀请他自己的灵性导师显现。
And his own spiritual master initiated him into the sannyas.
而他自己的灵性导师就亲自启迪他进入了 sannyas。
So it was unusual procedure, but this is how he arranged for his sannyas initiation.
这是一种非常特殊的、非常不同寻常的一个程序，这就是他如何得到他的 sannyas 的启迪。
There were no other sannyasis in the sampradaya.
当时在 sampradaya 之中没有其他的 sannyasi。
There were no other people in the line of sannyasi. He was continuing the line from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and there were no sannyasis. There were only some Babajis.
因为他要对主宰他的马哈帕布的这个传系进行传承，可是当时这个传承之中呢，没有sannyasi们，只有少数的几个巴巴吉。
Babaji is people who that's not in the material world. The position of Babaji is higher than sannyas.
巴巴吉呢，指的是那些根本就不处在这个物质世界的层面的人，巴巴吉的地位要高于sannyasi。
People who wear white, that is the color of the Babaji.
那些穿白色衣服的人呢，才是巴巴吉的颜色。
This color, this saffron color, this is the material world.
这个橘黄色，这属于物质世界里的颜色。
But the Babajis, they wear white. They're not in the material world.
但是巴巴吉呢，他们穿白色，他们不在物质的层面上。
So Babajis, they don't preach.
巴巴吉呢，不去传播。
They just do bhajan. They just chant the holy name.
他们只做八赞，只唱诵圣名。
But Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati wanted to encourage the preaching of the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
但是 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 想要鼓励对于主宰他的马哈普布的讯息的传播。
So he researched a lot. He went to South India and he went to many different temples in South India and he spent a lot of time in their libraries researching.
于是 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 做了很多研究工作，他去了南印度，他去了很多其他的地方，进行了调查研究的工作。
And he found out about different sampradayas, how they arrange for sannyas.
他发现了其他的 sampradaya 如何对 sannyasi 们进行安排。
In the Mayapur line of sannyas,
在 Mayapur 的这个 sannyasi 的传承，
they carry the ekadanda,
他们拿一个 ekadanda，
means one rod,
意思是一根棍儿。
and they take sannyas to become one with God.
他们认为 sannyasi 呢，就是跟神是合一的。
But Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, he wants to promote the Tridandi sannyasi, the Vaishnava sannyasi.
但是 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他要推崇的是 Tridandi 的 sannyasi、Vaishnava 的 sannyasi，
which is different from these Shankaracharya, from the Mayavadi sannyasi.
这个跟香格尔恰尔 Mayavadi 的 sannyasi 们是不一样的。
So the Tridandi sannyasi, they carry 3 rods which are bound together.
所以 Tridandi 的这个 sannyasi 他们是拿3根棍儿绑在一起。
The 3 rods represent body, mind, and words, all in the service of the Supreme.
这3根棍儿的含义代表着躯体、心意和言语，全都要合起来服务至尊主。
And a 4th rod is put on the outside. You can see on the top of the danda there's a curved rod that represents the soul.
然后还有第4根棍子，你们可以看到在这个单的顶部有一个卷的，就是一个弯的小棍儿，那个第4根棍子代表的就是灵魂。
And the Vaishnava sannyasi, he does not take sannyas to become one with God, but he takes sannyas to use everything in the service of God.
因为 Vaishnava sannyasi 并不是说要跟神合而为一，他接受 sannyas 的目的，成为 sannyasi 是为了为神去做服务。
This is in line with the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and as presented by Rupa Goswami in his books.
这是符合主采贪念的教导的。这个主采贪念的教导就体现在说了Rupa Goswami的书里。
Rupa Goswami describes renunciation. He says, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchate. The real renunciation is to use everything in the service of Krishna.
是的，Rupa Goswami说，真正的弃绝是把所有的一切都用于对 Krishna 的服务。
So Shrila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati he wanted to encourage this kind of renunciation.
因此，Shrila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他鼓励的是这种类型的弃绝。
So initially he was in Mayapur, he had been chanting the holy name for a long time. And it happened, one man came there in Mayapur and they saw him chanting and he talked to him and he understood he was a very great soul, he was very enlightened.
当时 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 就在马雅普这样一直的念诵，来了一个人，这个人到了马雅普之后跟他进行了一番交谈，通过交谈这个人就理解到他是一位非常崇高的灵魂。
So this man encouraged Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He said, you should come to Calcutta. I will arrange some preaching, some lectures for you. You can come and start preaching.
于是这个人就鼓励 Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 说：“你应该来加尔各答，我可以帮你安排地方，安排一些节目，让你去传播。”
So he went to Calcutta, and of course he was very successful. He attracted a lot of people.
于是他去了加尔各答，他非常的成功，吸引了很多的人。
And he was one of the places where he was staying is called Ottadanga. It's a place in Calcutta. You can go there today.
在他的待过的这些地方之中，有一个地方叫做 Ottadanga， 今天你们也可以去，就在加尔各答。
There's a house there, the same house which was the Gaudiya Math before. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada had stayed there, and it was in that house that our own founder Acharya Bhaktivedanta Swami came there and met his spiritual master.
在乌特当的这个地方呢，有一栋房子，以前是Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati住过的。这里之前是一座高殿庙，而当时呢，我们的 Bhaktivedanta Swami 就是在这里见到了他的理性导师 Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati。
So Srila Prabhupada, our own Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, described how when he was a young man, he'd been just married recently, and he had a young family, young baby in the family, and he was a follower of Gandhi.
我们的Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada，他当时刚刚结婚没多久，有一个很年轻的家庭，他刚刚有一个小的孩子。而在那个时候，他是甘地的追随者。
At that time, India was under the British rule, and Gandhi was a freedom fighter. He was fighting to get freedom for India. He wanted India to get independence from the British rule.
当时他是在追随甘地的，而这个当时的印度是在英国的统治之下。然后呢，甘地就主张让大家努力的奋斗，能够摆脱英国的殖民统治。
The British were trying to get all the Indian people to wear cloth which was made in England.
英国人他们试图让所有的印度人都穿英国制造的衣服。
And Gandhi was encouraging the people to wear cloth made in their own India.
而甘地鼓励所有的人穿在印度制造的衣服。
And that meant handloom cloth.
就是用手织的布的做的衣服。
It's called khadi.
这个叫 khadi。
It's actually very nice cloth. It's very cool in the summer, in the hot weather. It's nice to wear, not like the synthetic cloth which we wear today.
其实这种布的质量挺好的，尤其是夏天穿着很凉爽，不像如今我们穿这些化纤的东西，在夏天是很热的。
They have some shops still, Khadi Bhavan. You'll see some Khadi Bhavan shops, and they sell Khadi cloth. It's very nice cloth.
现在还有一些这样的商店，叫做 Khadi Bhavan， 在那儿可以买到这种 Khadi 的布，是很好的一种布料。
So Prabhupada said he was wearing Khadi. He had Khadi kurta, Khadi dhoti, and he came in to meet Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
当时呢，舍利帕帕德穿的就是一身卡地，他穿着卡地的 kurta， 穿着卡地的 dhoti， 于是他来见舍利Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati saw him and he would understand immediately that, oh, he's a follower of Gandhi. He's thinking about Gandhi, following Gandhi. He wants independence for India.
当时一见面，舍利Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati就立刻可以了解到这个年轻人他是一个甘地的追随者，他追随甘地，他想的就是让印度摆脱英国的殖民统治，获得自由。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati saw him come in the door. He said, "You are a nice young man. Why don't you preach the message of Lord Chaitanya?"
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 看到这个年轻人走到门口的时候就说：“你是一个年轻人，你为什么不去传播主宰他家的讯息？”
And Srila Prabhupada said he tried to argue. He said, "Well, our country is not free yet. We have to get independence first, and then we can preach Lord Chaitanya's mission."
舍利帕布帕当时就试图争辩，他说：“因为我们现在这个印度还是受殖民统治的国家，还没有得到自由。我们应该先让这个国家得到自由，然后再去传播主宰他家的使命。”
But Bhaktisiddhanta immediately said, "No, you're wrong."
但是Bhaktisiddhanta立刻说：“不，你错了。”
The message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cannot wait for some political adjustment.
主宰他家的使命和讯息是不能够等待政治上的调整的。
And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati went on to explain the urgency to deliver this message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world.
接着Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati就向他解释，这是非常紧迫的一件事情，一定要尽快把主宰他家马哈帕布的这个讯息传遍全世界。
And our own Srila Prabhupada said, he said, "I was completely defeated. I was surprised that he could speak so powerfully and so convincingly."
而我们的舍利帕帕就说：“我完全被他给说服了，被他击败了。我就没想到他能够这么有力的把我给说服。”
Usually these holy men, these kind of sadhus, are all bogus, and they're only interested to take some money from the people.
通常这些圣人们都是冒牌的，他们唯一的兴趣就是从别人那赚钱。
But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was not that kind of person. He did not flatter people.
但是Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 不是那样的人，他不会阿谀奉承别人。
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati spoke the truth, whether people liked it or not.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 他总是讲真理，无论人们喜欢还是不喜欢。
And he would encourage people that your life is wasted if you do not surrender to Krishna.
他会鼓励大家，你的生命浪费了，如果你不去臣服 Krishna 的话。
You have the human life, and you're wasting it in sense gratification.
你有人体的生命，但是你却把它浪费在了感官满足上。
So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati preached very strongly, and he attracted many young people, and he got a big following of people, had many disciples.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 他的传播是非常有力量的，很强大的，于是他吸引了很多的年轻人，他有很多年轻的追随者。
And many of them were well-educated, intelligent people who knew a lot of philosophy and had good education.
其中有很多的人呢，他们都是受过良好的教育，而且非常的有智慧的，然后他们的这个程度都是很高的。
And they were convinced when they met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they were convinced to accept him as their spiritual teacher and surrender to him.
当他们见到Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 的时候，他们都信服了，他们都臣服于他，并且接受他为自己的灵性导师。
So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati liked to write. He would write articles, not only speak and give lectures, but he would also write essays and articles. And he began to publish even a daily newspaper.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 他很喜欢写作，他不仅仅是说话讲课，然后就是他还花很多时间去写作，他甚至出版了一份日报。
And the devotees, those who were the devotees, they would go out every day to distribute.
那些奉献者们每一天都会出去派发他的这些文献。
And if they would distribute even just 1 or 2 newspapers in the day and collect only a few paisa, which paisa means a fraction, not even 1 rupee, just some fraction of a rupee, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati would praise them. You have done very well.
而当这些奉献者出去传播，然后派发报纸，然后回来的时候只收来几拍萨，这个拍萨是很小的一种货币单位，甚至还不到1卢比。而 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 都会赞美他们，说你们简直是做得太好了。
And Srila Prabhupada, our own Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada told us that his Guru Maharaj liked very much to see books being published.
而咱们自己的Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Srila Prabhupada 就说，我的 Guru Maharaj 非常喜欢看到大家出版书籍。
And whenever a new book would be printed for Srila Prabhupada, he would think, my Guru Maharaj will be very happy to see a new book.
每当大家出版了一本新书拿去给Srila Prabhupada看的时候，Srila Prabhupada就会说，我的 Guru Maharaj 会非常高兴看到一本新书的出版。
And of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati would encourage all the devotees to write articles.
当然了 ，Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他会鼓励所有的奉献者们来写文章。
And he would count, just wanted to make sure every page the name Krishna was there. And if the name Krishna was there, they printed.
而他来检查的时候，他就看是不是每一页都有 Krishna 的名字出现。如果每一页都有 Krishna 的名字出现的话，那就可以拿去出版了。
Then this is a good article because the name Krishna is being used so many times.
他就会说这篇文章写得太好了，因为有很多次提到了 Krishna 这个名字。
So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati organized many big programs. He would put on big exhibitions of Krishna consciousness.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他会做很多大型的节目，然后呢，他就会用这些大型的节目来传播 Krishna 知觉。
He would come to the temple and he would ask them, how much money are you having? Have you got any money, any savings?
然后他到了一个庙，就问说你们有多少钱？你们攒了多少钱呢？
And if they had money, he would take the money and go and put on a big exhibition, hire artists to do paintings and to make dioramas, exhibits of Lord Chaitanya's pastime.
如果他要是发现有钱的话，他就把这个钱都拿去，然后用来办一个大型的展览，然后呢就是给大家传播Krishna知觉，去展览跟主宰三的马哈帕布有关的一些就西洋景的那些图画。
And the devotees would complain, they'd say, oh Guru Maharaj, you're spending all the money, there'll be no money left.
奉献者们就会抱怨，哦 ，Guru Maharaj，您把所有的钱都花完了，咱们没剩什么钱了。
And he would say, oh good, you will have to go out and preach.
然后他就会说，哦，太好了，你们现在又得出去传播了。
He did not like the devotees just to sit and eat and sleep.
他不喜欢奉献者就是坐在那里，然后只知道吃和睡。
He liked them to go out to fight Maya.
他喜欢让大家出去跟玛雅作战。
And he didn't like them just to go to rich people. You should go to everyone.
而且他并不喜欢他们只是去找那些富人，他鼓励他们应该去找每一个人。
When they would go out for preaching, if someone just came back with a lot of money, he wouldn't be so happy. But he'd think, no, you should preach to everyone. Some people are not so rich, they can give you some rice, or they'll give you some vegetables, or something which they grow, maybe some eggplant from their field, whatever they grow, they'll give you. That's preaching.
如果有的人回来的时候拿了一大笔捐款，他反而不太高兴。他说：“你不应该只是去找富人，应该去找每一个人。然后呢，可能人家给你一点大米，给你一点蔬菜，或者人家地里种了什么，给你什么，比如说给你一些茄子。总之，就人家地里长的东西，他们给你了，然后这个才叫真正的传播。”
And at one point, one of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati built a big temple for him in Calcutta.
曾经有一度，是Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati的一个门徒在加尔各答为他建了一座大庙。
It's still there. It's a very beautiful temple. It's all marble.
这座庙宇如今还在，非常的美丽，都是用大理石建造的。
And Bazaar up in Calcutta, North Calcutta.
在加尔各答的北部叫巴布巴扎尔。
And the Gaudiya Mat is, they have this nice temple. But when they built the temple, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati heard the devotees that they were arguing with each other about where they would stay when they moved into the new temple.
高迪玛他们这座庙是挺不错的，但是巴蒂斯丹的萨斯瓦蒂他听说当庙宇落成的时候，他的门徒们都在争吵，就是谁应该占哪个房间。
The one devotee would say, "This will be my room. This will be my office."
有一个奉献者就是说这是我的房间，然后另外一个人说这是我的办公室。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was not happy to hear this.
巴蒂斯丹的萨斯瓦蒂听到这些，他并不高兴。
He said, "Better to sell the marble and print books."
他说最好还是把大理石都卖了，然后印书。
His teaching was, if you get money, use it to print books.
他的教导就是，如果有钱，你就拿去印书。
Don't just make a nice temple to live comfortably in.
不要仅仅是在一个非常好的庙宇，然后舒适的生活。
But temple is a base for the army to go out and fight Maya.
庙宇是一个基地，是为了让这个军队出去跟玛雅作战的一个基地。
And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati would do that. He would go out for preaching.
这个巴基斯坦的萨斯瓦蒂就会这样做，每一天他都会出去传播。
And he would preach very strongly.
而且他传播的方式是很强大有力的。
At the same time, he was quite different from other sadhus.
而同时他又跟其他的萨杜们非常的不一样。
Other sadhus, they would walk, with the wooden shoe, maybe the peg shoes, the wooden shoes, and they had no sewn cloth, they just had some cloth wrapped around each other.
其他的萨杜们都是穿着木头的鞋，就是木屐，然后呢，穿的衣服都是没有缝制过的，就拿一块布这样一裹吧。
But Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, sometimes he would wear shoes, and he would put on a big coat, like the Western people.
而圣巴蒂斯丹的萨斯瓦蒂，他就会有时候穿鞋子，还有时候像西方人一样穿一件外套。
And a kurta.
然后他这个外套袖子上还有这个扣子呢，纽扣。
And he wouldn't walk. He bought a car, and he would ride in the car.
而且他不走路，他买了一辆汽车，他就是坐汽车出去。
But when some devotees got sick, they wanted to use the car to go to doctors. He said, "No, it's not for you to go to doctor in the car."
但是当有奉献者生病了，然后想坐着这个汽车去看病的时候，他就说不，这个车不是买来用来让你去看病的。
You want to go to the doctor, you go yourself. You don't take the car.
你要是想去看病的话，你自己去吧，不要用这个车。
That car is for preaching.
这辆车是用来传播的。
And Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Prabhupada would go to preach to very important people, very big people in the government.
而是巴蒂斯丹的就会向很大的那些大人物、政府的那些官员去传播。
And because he's riding a big car, so he could go in everywhere.
因为他有一辆很大的车子，然后就可以去所有的地方。
And people would respect him very much.
而且人们非常尊敬他。
Because of course he was very aristocratic in his dress.
当然了，是因为他的服饰上也是充满了贵族气质的。
And he was not like the other sadhus.
他跟其他的萨杜们都不一样。
And he was able to convince some important people to come out to Mayapur.
他能够说服一些很重要的人物来玛雅普。
And at that time there were no proper roads.
在那个时候，这里还没有比较恰当的路呢。
So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was revolutionary in following the principles of Rupa Goswami.
在追随 Rupa Goswami 的原则方面，Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 是一位有革命性的人物。
Right? Rupa Goswami said, "Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchate." That we should use everything in the service of Krishna. And that is real renunciation.
是了，如果格斯瓦米说，我们应该把所有的一切都用于对 Krishna 的服务，而这才是真正的弃绝。
We don't give up something which is in relation to Krishna.
我们不会放弃跟 Krishna 有关的东西。
So motor cars can be used for preaching.
汽车可以用于传播，
They're not used for our own sense gratification.
这个不应该用于自己的感官满足。
And the same today, computers, mobile phones, all these things, they can be used for preaching. They're not for our sense gratification.
如今呢，电脑、手机这些都可以用于传播，这些都不是用于我们的感官满足的。
Everything is for the service of Krishna.
所有的一切都是为了服务 Krishna。
So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was preaching very strongly about these points to people.
说了 Bhaktisiddhanta， 他就会把这些要点非常强调的去讲给别人。
And he was so controversial, they wanted to kill him.
结果他引起了巨大的争议，有人想要杀了他。
One of the things which he did was he started the Navadvip Parikrama.
他开始的就是做的一件事情是，他开创了 Navadvip Parikrama。
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had described the Parikrama, and he'd written the Navadvip Mahatmya about the glories of the Holy Dham.
是Bhaktisiddhanta 塔库尔描述了圣地的荣耀，他专门撰写了 Sri Navadvip Mahatmya。
But it was Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati who inaugurated Parikrama to go around the holy, to visit each of the 9 islands.
而是Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他就是发起了这种绕拜的活动，让大家去走遍每一个岛，用9个岛。
And he had thousands of people all come on Parikrama.
他会叫了好几千人一起跟他做 Parikrama。
And they had elephants also come.
他们还有大象呢。
They take the elephants on the Parikrama.
他们带着大象一起去做绕拜，做 Parikrama。
There were thousands of people on the Parikrama.
有好几千人参加 Parikrama。
And they would go one day in each island.
他们每天去一个岛。
And in each island they'd hear the glories of that island and the different pastimes which took place.
在每一个岛上，他们就会聆听在那里发生的逍遥时光。
And so there was controversy over where is the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
关于到底就是哪里是主宰他的马哈帕布的出生地是有争议的。
Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur had proved that the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was over on Mayapur, and he showed the people the Yoga Pit, the birthplace of Chaitanya. But before Bhaktivinoda Thakur came, people were telling that the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in Navadvip.
Bhaktisiddhanta 塔库尔他发现了主宰他的马哈帕布的出生地，而且他向人们展示主宰他的马哈帕布的真正的出生地是 Yoga Pit。但是在他之前，人们认为呢，主宰他的马哈帕布的出生地在 Navadvip。
But by looking at the old maps and by different information from the scriptures, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur proved that it couldn't be in Navadvip.
但是通过研读古老的地图，还有查各种各样的文献，说Bhaktisiddhanta塔库尔就认定不可能这个主宰他的马哈帕布的出生地在 Navadvip。
One of the important places is the Chandkazi Samadhi.
有一个很重要的地点是 Chandkazi 的 Samadhi。
Now Chandkazi Samadhi, the Chandkazi he had the house not far away from the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Chandkazi 的家呢，离主宰他的马哈帕布的家，他的出生地并不远。
But the Chandkazi's house is not over in Navadvip. The Chandkazi Samadhi is there in Mayapur.
但是 Chandkazi 的家呢，他并不在 Navadvip， Chandkazi 的家就在 Mayapur。
The Samadhi is there, and that's where his house used to be.
他的 Samadhi 就在那儿，这是以前他的家的地点。
Right, and you can see there's the 2 trees. One is the Neem tree, and one is the Champak tree.
你们可以看到那里有2棵树，一棵是 Neem 树，另外一棵是 Champak 树。
So the neem tree was representing Lord Chaitanya. His name was Nimai.
尼木树代表的是主彩贪念，因为它的名字就叫尼麦。
And Champak tree was for the Chankazi. It was a nickname of the Chankazi, Champak.
而这个昌帕这棵树呢，代表的就是昌卡吉，这属于是昌卡吉它的一个昵称，就是昌帕。
So these two trees have grown there since 500 years.
自从500年以前，这两棵树就长在那里了。
So there was other evidence also collected by Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and he proved that the real birthplace of Lord Chaitanya is at Mayapur, not in Navadvip.
巴提诺的塔库还收集到了其他的证据，证明是主彩贪念玛哈巴古的出生地就在玛雅普，而不是在拉乌队。
But those people who lived in Navadvip, they were very angry. They said, no, birthplace of Lord Chaitanya is at Navadvip. And they were so angry, they were wanting to kill Bhaktisiddhanta.
但是在拿对付的人们，他们非常的生气，他们说不，主彩贪念的出生地就在拿对付。然后他们如此的愤怒，以至于他们想杀了 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati。
And at one point they even told the policeman in charge of the area that we will give you some money, but we want to do something. We're going to kill this man, this sadhu. Please, you don't interfere. We'll give you some money. You just keep quiet.
他们甚至找到当地的警察，然后跟他说呢，我们给你们一些钱，然后我们想雇一些人去杀了这个萨杜，等到时候你们不要采取任何的行动。
But the policeman refused. He said, no, I cannot allow you to kill a holy man. He's the same. You cannot kill a holy person.
但是这个警察说不，我不会允许你们去杀死这样的一个圣人的，他是一个非常圣洁的人，你们不能去杀他。
And he gave the warning to Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, you have to be very careful.
然后这个警察还警告了 Bhaktisiddhanta 说你应该非常的小心。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was risking his life by preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
因此 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他为了传播主彩贪念玛哈巴布的讯息，他甚至冒着生命危险。
But he was called Nishringa Guru. He was he had that fire, the fire, just like Lord Nrsingadev became so angry to Hiranyakashipu. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati could become so enraged by people who were propagating some irreligious philosophy.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati 他被称为是生的哺乳，是因为他有这种怒火，就像春女星的杀死别人卡西夫的时候展示出来的怒火一样。如果有人去传播非宗教的东西，他也会变得勃然大怒。
At the same time, he could be very kind and compassionate.
但同时呢，他又有的时候会展示出非常的温柔、非常的充满怜悯之心的一面。
He would carry sweets in his pocket, and when the village children came around, he would give them all prasadam.
他的兜里总是装着甜品，当村子里的孩子们来到他面前的时候，他就会给他们派发prasadam。
He was not cold and hard-hearted, but he was kind and considerate to others.
他并不是一个冷血的、心肠很坚硬的一个人，他是对别人非常温柔的一个人。
But if people were doing something which was against the scripture, then he would point it out to them very clearly.
但如果有人做出违反经典的事情，他就会非常清晰地给他们指出来。
And he could teach very forcefully what is the real message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
而他的传教方式是非常的强大有力的，就是要努力地传播主彩贪念玛哈巴布的讯息。
So he was given the name Prabhupada. Prabhupada means one who has many masters at his feet.
他被赋予了 Prabhupada 这个头衔，这个头衔的意思就是有很多其他的主人都坐在他的莲花足下。
But it also means one who is at the feet of Krishna.
但这也意味着一个处在 Krishna 莲花足下的人。
So I saw last night we were watching on the internet, there was somebody, he was saying, who is the real Prabhupada?
昨天晚上我们在互联网上看到一个视频说，谁是 Prabhupada 真正的 Prabhupada。But
you have to understand Prabhupada is a title. It's not just the name of one person. It's a title which was given to powerful preachers.
我们必须要明白到这个 Prabhupada 是一个头衔，这个是给有力的那些传播者的一个头衔。
And Rupa Goswami was also called Prabhupada, and Sanatana Goswami was also Prabhupada.
Rupa Goswami 也被称为 Prabhupada, Sanatana Goswami 也被称为是 Prabhupada。
And so when the devotees asked Bhaktisiddhanta Swami what name he would like, he said, well, Prabhupada is a nice name.
当奉献者们问到Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami 你应该用哪个名字的时候，他说 Prabhupada 就是一个很好的名字。
And Prabhupada said, he said, if you want to give me some name, you can give that name also for me.
Prabhupada 就说，如果你们想给我一个名字、一个称呼的话，你们可以用这个来称呼我。
So it's not that the name is just meant for one person.
这个并不是单独给一个人的名字。
But somebody who is a powerful preacher, who is very great preacher, who has many prabhus, as we speak. Then they can. It's not just only the Mayavadis can call themselves Prabhupada. So the devotees, it's for the name for devotees.
不是说只有一个人能够得到这个 Prabhupada 的这个头衔，然后呢，也不是说这个 Prabhupada 头衔是指那些非人格主义者 Mayavadis， 奉献者呢也可以，只要他的足下有很多其他的 Prabhu 就可以。
So we're very indebted to Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, Prabhupada, that he did so much for the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we're following in the line.
我们非常的亏欠Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Prabhupada， 而我们是去追随他所传扬的这个主讲家马哈帕布的传承的。
Srila Prabhupada, our own Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada, he would say that, I'm your father, I have to be very strict with you.
咱们自己的Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Srila Prabhupada， 他说我是你们的父亲，所以呢，我要对你们非常的严格。
But he said, my spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, is your spiritual grandfather. The grandfather is always very kind.
但是我的灵性导师Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati， 他是你们的灵性的祖父，祖父总是非常的仁慈的。
So we're remembering him, especially at this time. Yesterday was the 150th anniversary of his appearance in this world.
因此呢，我们要意念他，而昨天就是他在这个世界上的显现150周年的纪念日。
And he departed from the world in the Gaudiya Math temple there in Calcutta.
他是在加尔各答的一个高地玛特的庙里离开这个世界的。
He encouraged the devotees to go on, preach the message of Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami.
他鼓励奉献者们继续的传播 Rupa Goswami 还有 Raghunath Das Goswami 的讯息。
Are there any questions?
有什么问题吗？西藏的有个问题。
我的问题是，就是因为Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur他是如此的严格的追随着他的父亲的教导，我也希望就是姑友能不能讲一下，就是我们怎么样去严格的追随这种原则，以 Krishna 为中心的去生活，去杜绝所有的这些有感官享乐的愿望，来的时候怎么样去打清。
Her question is that just like you mentioned, we should become very strict in following all the principles concerning Krishna consciousness. We have to put Krishna in the center. And how could we avoid our desires to perform sense gratification? How can we get rid of those things?
By strict sadhana.
通过严格的sadhana.
By being very strict with ourselves.
要严格要求自己。
No, we have to be disciplined. Just like he was very disciplined, we have to discipline our own self.
我们必须要遵守纪律，就像他非常的遵守纪律一样，我们也需要让自己遵守纪律。
We know what's right, We know what's wrong.
我们知道什么是对的，什么是错的。
We have to be strict with ourselves.
我们必须要严格要求自己。
Just like mobile phones, you know, you can watch Bollywood movies, you can watch so many things on the internet.
就像是手机，你也可以用它来看宝莱坞的电影，你可以用它来看互联网上的很多其他东西。
So Maya is at your fingertips.
妈呀，就在你的指尖。
But we're finished. We don't want that Maya.
但是这部分我们已经结束了，我们不想要妈呀。
We don't want that kind of thing. We're finished. We've declared war on Maya.
我们不想要那种妈呀，我们已经穷尽了那个方面，我们要向妈呀宣战。
You know, when we accept initiation into Krishna consciousness, we're declaring war on the material energy.
当我们在Krishna知觉之中接受启迪的时候，我们就已经向物质的能量宣战了。
So we have to be very, very strict with ourselves.
所以我们必须要非常严格要求自己，
Right? Strict with ourselves and merciful with others.
严格要求自己，对其他的人要有仁慈。
So strict in our chanting, strict in our reading. We have so many things to keep ourselves busy in Krishna consciousness. We have no time for Maya.
我们要严格要求自己去念诵，严格要求自己去读书。我们有很多的东西要做，我们根本没有时间去做那些玛雅的事情。
There are so many books to read,
我们有很多的书要读，
so many slokas to memorize,
还有好多的十罗卡来记，
so many things to learn,
有好多的东西要学，
so much service to be done.
有好多的服务要做。
We don't have time for Maya.
我们没有玛雅的时间。
So does that help you?
这帮助了你吗？
Any other questions?
还有其他的问题吗？在线的课前就可以举手，让我们看看。
Peter has another question.
接下来就另外一个问题。
这里的我想听听顾讲一下关于Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur，就是冥想Radha香奥困和Giri Govardhan在Mayapur的这个地方，因为我想加深对Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur的这种情感。
Guru Maharaj, can you please tell us more details about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, how he is meditating Radhakund, Shyamakund and Giri Govardhan? So I want to increase my taste by hearing such
Well, we understand that Mayapur is not different from Vrindavan.
我们知道玛雅普跟文达文没有区别，
They're both the holy dham.
这两者都是神圣的堂。
So all the holy places in Vrindavan, they're also here in Mayapur.
在文达文出现的所有的圣地也都在玛雅普临在。
So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Prabhupada, he created his own Radhakund and Shyamakund and Giri Govardhan.
除了 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati， 他创造了他自己的 Radhakund、Shyamakund， 还有 Giri Govardhan。
And he wants us to understand that these places are here in the holy town.
他想让我们明白，这些地点呢也存在于这里，在神圣的堂。
He had that vision that this holy place of Mayapur is not different from Vrindavan.
他有这样的灵性的视域，这个神圣的玛雅普这个地方跟文达文没有区别。
So he saw everything in relation to the holy Dham. That he saw this Mayapur Dham, it's a transcendental abode. It's not anywhere in the material world.
他看到所有的一切都跟这个神圣的堂Sri Ram玛雅普有关系。他看到这里跟灵性世界没有任何的区别。
So he's teaching us to have that kind of vision.
他在教导我们能够拥有这样的视觉。
The Lord's abode, His holy name, His paraphernalia, and everything in relation to him, they're all absolute and spiritual.
主的神圣的居所，他的圣名，还有他的随身的用品，所有的一切都处在绝对的层面上，都跟他本人没有任何的区别。
And Lord Krishna is eternally residing here, in this place.
而主 Krishna 永恒地住在这里，在这个地方。
If this place is not different from Vrindavan, then Lord Krishna is also here, in this holy place.
既然这个地方跟文达文没有区别，所以主 Krishna 也临在于这里，在这个地方。
So he's teaching us to respect this holy place.
因此他在教导我们要尊敬圣地。
Shrila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati had a difficult time when his spiritual master left the world.
Shrila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 当他的灵性导师离开这个物质世界的时候，他也度过了艰难的时刻。
But Gaurkishore Das Babaji, when he left the body, then many people wanted to get his body and they wanted to make his samadhi on their land because they knew it would attract many pilgrims and they'll all come and they'll give donations.
当Gaurkishore Das Babaji 离开躯体的时候，有很多的人都想把他的躯体占为己有，把他的躯体在自己的土地上建立萨玛迪，这样就可以吸引很多的人来朝圣，让大家给他们捐款。
And Gaurkishore Das Babaji had also said that when I die, I want you to drag my body through the streets to the holy Dham.
而Gaurkishore Das Babaji 本人也说，当我死的时候呢，你们要拖着我的躯体，把它拖遍整个 Dham 的大街小巷。
So when Gaurkishore Das Babaji left the body, then some people wanted to take his body and they were going to drag it through the streets.
而当Gaurkishore Das Babaji 离开躯体了之后呢，有的人就真的要把他的躯体就拖着，要拖遍这个地方的大街小巷。
But Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati came there and he told them, he said, I am the only disciple of my Guru Maharaj.
但是 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 来了，他说我是我的 Guru Maharaj 的唯一的门徒。
And they said, well, that doesn't give you the right just to take his body. You should respect, if you're his disciple, you should respect his word.
然后呢，其他的他就跟其他人说，我不允许你们拖着他的躯体。如果你们也承认自己是他的门徒的话，应该尊重他的话语。
He wanted his body dragged through the streets.
有的人就争辩说，他想让自己的躯体被拖遍大街小巷。
But Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati told him that was his humility. He was. We should not follow that kind of. We shouldn't allow that kind of actions to be done with the body of such a great soul.
所以Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 说，那是出于他的谦卑之前他才那样说的。但是我们出于对一个伟大灵魂的尊敬，不应该那样对待他的躯体。
So anyway, they were arguing who should have the right to the body.
无论如何，他们在争辩谁应该拥有对躯体的权利。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati said to them, if any one of you have followed strictly the principles of religion for 1 year, then you can take the body of my Guru Maharaj.
然后 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他坚决地说，如果你们之中有谁在过去的1年之中严格地遵守宗教的原则，你们就可以把他的躯体拿走。
So nobody said anything.
没有人敢说一句话。
He said, if any of you can follow, if any of you have followed the religious principles for 1 month, you can take the body of my Guru Maharaj.
然后他接着说，如果你们之中有人严格地遵守宗教原则，在过去的1个月里，那也可以把我的 Guru Maharaj 的躯体拿走。
Nobody said anything.
没有人说一句话。
If any of you have followed the religious principles, if you followed for the 1 week, you can take my Guru Maharaj's body.
如果你们之中有任何人严格地遵守宗教原则，就只是过去的1周，你们也可以把我 Guru Maharaj 的躯体拿走。
Nobody.
没有人敢说话。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, just see, this is the condition. You people, you want to take the divine body of my spiritual master, but you're engaged in so many sinful activities.
Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 他说：“看，这就是目前的情况。你们想拿走我的灵性导师的躯体，可是你们却在从事那么多的罪恶活动。”
So in this way, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati took the body of Gorkishundas Bhakti Maharaj and he had it placed in samadhi.
这样 Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati 就拿走了他的灵性导师 Gorkishundas Bhakti 的躯体，把它放进了 samadhi。
And now, actually, at one point, they had to move the samadhi because the Ganga moved and the samadhi was damaged. So they had to bring his divine body, the remains of his body, they brought it to Mayapur. And Gorkishundas Bhakti's samadhi is now done in Mayapur at the Yoga Pith, at the Chaitanya Mat there.
但是后来他们不得不就是转移他的萨玛迪，因为恒河改造就差点把他的萨玛迪给淹了。于是他们把他的神圣的躯体又搬到了玛雅普。现在呢，他的这个萨玛迪在就是往前走，在 Chaitanya Mat 那里。
And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he left the body in Calcutta, but then after he departed from the body, then they brought his divine body out here to Mayapur, and his samadhi is there along the road near the Bhakti.
然后等这个Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati，他是在加尔各答离开的躯体。等到引进之后呢，大家把他的神圣的躯体运到了玛雅普，他就被就是放在了离 Yoga Pith 不远的，也是 Chaitanya Mat， 在他的 samadhi 里。
Okay. Any question?
Jamuna Priya 说，顶拜 Guru 如何能够让自己的躯体可以做点恰当的苦行，比如少食少睡一些，以更多的从事放爱服务。发现自己用于服务的时间远远不够用，而 Guru 是这方面的完美榜样，祈求 Guru 的训示和祝福。目前凭自己的意志力和努力很难做到，尤其是睡眠很多，有时会比较懒惰，还处于愚昧形态。A question from Jamuna Priya. Obeisances to Guru. How can I make my body to perform some proper austerities? For example, let me eat less and sleep less so I have more time to be engaged in devotional service. Because I find out that I don't have enough time to perform devotional service. However, Guru is the perfect example on this aspect, so I am begging for Guru's instructions and blessings. And now, by my own willpower and my own endeavor, I feel it's very hard to do that. Especially I sleep a lot, and sometimes I am very lazy. I am still situated in the mode of ignorance.
Well, you said it yourself. Eat less and sleep less.
你自己都已经说了，要少吃少睡。
If you eat less and sleep less, you'll do more austerity.
但就是如果你要少吃少睡，你就可以做更多的苦行。
Keep yourself busy in the service of Krishna.
让你自己忙着去服务 Krishna。
And imagine the Guru is always there with a big stick beating you on the head.
要想象 Guru 总是拿着一根大棍子，随时准备打你的头。
Yeah. Okay.
还有吗
Bhaktivinoda Thakur 的躯体samadhi在哪里？
Where is the body samadhi of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur?
It's over there. At Swarupganj.
就在 Swarupganj，
That's his house.
就在他家，
That's his samadhi.
那是他的 samadhi。
躯体samadhi。
Yeah.
所以 Yoga Pith 的那个samadhi 是
Yoga Pith also has some structure like samadhi.
Yeah, that's not samadhi. That's Prabhupada didn't like that. He said Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur is not the gatekeeper.
在 Yoga Pith 的那个结构、那个建筑呢，其实不是真正的Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur的 samadhi。Srila Prabhupada 非常不喜欢那里。他说 Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur 并不是 Yoga Pith 的看门人。
Body is a burn, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's not very
maybe not. Maybe his body didn't get put in samadhi because it wasn't a. But he took Babaji. He did take Babaji initiation.
Yeah, but it's not
He left the body in Puri.
他是在布里离开躯体的，他不是萨尼亚西，所以其实不一定。
But I thought he took Babaji before he departed from the world.
他在，但是他在离开躯体之前，他接受了巴巴吉的境界。
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Vinashana Narasimha Maharaj